Everyone wants the bottle on the shelf. No one talks about the pressure crushing the people carrying it there. Dustin Schweitzer built Tequila Cabal in an industry that can praise you publicly while hoping you disappear privately. We get into the weight, the politics, the legacy, and what it costs to protect a brand without losing yourself in the process. On this episode of Tactical Tequila Podcast, I'm your host, Matt Wilson. If you enjoy the show, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it to your social media platforms. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show. Welcome back, everyone. Matt with Tactical Tequila Podcast. And let's just say we have an amazing show tonight. Most people, they only see tequila brands once the lights are on and the bottles are moving. They never see the pressure behind the curtain, the sleepless nights, the politics, the self-doubt, or even just carrying the weight of a brand with your name attached to every win and every mistake. Dustin Schweitzer of Tequila Cabal steps into a conversation about legacy, leadership, protecting the soul of a brand in an industry built on noise, and what happens when building something real starts demanding pieces of you that most will never understand. Dustin, thank you so much. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I know we've gone back and forth for a while and try to figure out a good time to link up. So appreciate you having me on the show. Longtime follower, and know a bit about what you do, and just wanted to first and foremost thank you for your service off camera and for what you've done for our country, so that we can be afforded the opportunity to sit here and share some sips and good stories.
Thank you, and cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
So I just kind of want to dive into things, and I want to sort of peel back the onion, if you will. I want to find out who Dustin was before Cabal. Who were you when nobody knew your name and your brand, your vision? Who were you?
Well, before I got involved with Tequila Cabal, I was pretty knee deep in the world of real estate. Had a boutique brokerage in Los Angeles, and me and my dad were business partners, and he had been in the industry for a long time, and I joined him long way into his journey, and I kind of took on the role of spearheading business development and strategic partnerships. And so actually the world of real estate is what got me into the world of tequila before I jumped into the world of producing agave spirits. I'd been around bars and restaurants and hospitality in and out of my early 20s, later 20s. And so I got a taste of fine wine, good spirits. But actually, it was a real estate transaction that I had done in Los Angeles. I think it was 2018 here in Marina Del Rey. They've gone on to be quite successful, in a brand that we've actually partnered with many times for events, called the Motoring Club. And I had done the commercial lease for the warehouse in Marina Del Rey. And after they opened their doors, I had actually went in to visit my clients, see how things were going. And my current business partner at the time was there that day, only a few short months after they had opened their doors. And we started to connect on our mutual love for motorcycles, because we both happened to be riding our motorcycles there that day. This place is really, really unique space. It's like Cars and Coffee meets a WeWork meets event space and car storage. And it was just a place where like-minded people can work, that don't have a home office, that are looking for a shared workspace, events, coffee bar. And so we just connected, learned a little bit about what he was doing. But at that time, I was way deep into the world of real estate, wasn't focused on getting into any other line of work other than focusing on building my current brand, which was 10 Star Properties at the time. and we just became friends. He told me that he was trying to launch a liquor brand, and learned a little bit about what that meant in terms of his family being involved in the farming and the production of the tequila. We became good friends. Fast forward a year, he finally launched 3 months short of the throes of COVID, and we the world halted. The world halted in real estate for a good 4 to 6 months in Los Angeles. Lenders weren't lending. People were like, "Is my house going to be worth anything?" Before we really saw that the value of what people were putting on homes and being home, and the value of actually being in, the quadrants of your four walls. And so before I got involved in this, I was me and my dad just grinding it out, trying to build a real estate brand that was boutique, really hands-on approach, really people first mindset. And when I met Everardo, I had no intentions of ever pivoting in my career. But, a few short months, around 12, 14 months later, we found ourselves both kind of in a similar position trying to build a brand, and things came to a screeching halt. And that's when a door kind of opened, and I was able to kind of reassess what I really wanted to do with the next 5 to 10, 15 years of my life.
You talk about reassessing, your life as you're moving from real estate to tequila. Is there a part of it that completely blindsided you in a sense that I guess in a way, so real estate more or less kind of prepared you for moving into the tequila industry? Was there a side of that that blindsided you that you weren't expecting?
I think if you're going to use the word blindsided, I think in the current day and age of social media and just like continual eyeballs on you all the time, and the idea of cancel culture. When I was working in real estate and I was dealing with clients, it was me and my client, and then me and the other party, right? Whether it be the selling or buying office. And so it was really a one on one relationship. And outside of that relationship and managing client expectations and setting the stage for what everyone hopes to be a successful real estate transaction, there really wasn't much outside noise or peanut gallery talk. And so I think what I was surprised, not necessarily surprised by, but maybe taken back by, was how many people just love being keyboard warriors and love to comment on things that they have either no idea what they're talking about, or they just have a completely off the wall opinion, which everyone is totally entitled to their own opinion. But it's really easy to comment on things that you are not involved in on the day to day, nor do you have any understanding of what goes into actually creating a consumer packaged good, which is what we are doing effectively with agave spirits. And so I think if I were to be blindsided by one area or one aspect, I think I wasn't as prepared for how many people are willing to give you an opinion that you don't ask for.
And as a producer, how does that make you feel when people subject their opinion or induce their opinions, whether it's through being keyboard warriors or maybe even in public? Um, how does that make you feel?
At first, if I'm speaking bluntly, and obviously the whole point of jumping on a podcast and sharing your story is to speak candidly, it took me a little time to get used to it. Obviously, I'm an emotionally driven person, and if I'm going to jump into something, I jump in with both feet and all 10 fingers on my hands, and I go for it. Otherwise, I feel like I'm doing myself and the endeavor a disservice. And obviously, hard work and commitment begets success. And so for me, when I got involved in this endeavor, I was a little surprised how many people want to share their opinions when you don't ask for it and jump in with reckless abandon. And, for me personally, it took me a little bit of time to get used to it. And I think at first I fell victim to wanting to defend myself, my credibility, my hard work, my intentions behind why I'm doing what I do. And I probably made some mistakes along the way, saying things that I either regret or wish I would have phrased differently. But in life and when you're putting your heart and soul into something, it's at times emotions can get the best of you because if you don't feel those emotions and you don't feel that fire to do what you're doing on a daily basis, it really doesn't matter to you unless you are just a soulless human being. And so for me, I think it took me a good couple years to really like wrap my head around the fact that what I'm doing and what I'm trying to create with my team and my direct support system around me, family and friends, it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks about it. Obviously, you need good public perception to create a successful brand because that's what moves bottles off shelves and people talking about it and getting people excited to share the brand with you. But it took me a good couple years before I didn't really care what people thought about my approach or what we were doing or how we were doing it. And I think we took a lot of flack for some of the decisions we made that were based on the perception of the distillery partnership we made or how we were creating our product. And I let some of those comments kind of rub me the wrong way, only because I'm so passionate about what we do and everything that we have tried to create. And so I think as time has gone on into year 6 now, and we've truly proven ourselves and our worth and our character and our intention. The comments, unless it's like a true personal dig at my character or somebody in my personal orbit, it doesn't really bother me as much as it used to because I feel a lot more comfortable in my shell, in a world of social media and just everybody having eyeballs on everything that you do, and you can't make one wrong step without having someone, canceling you, for lack of a better term. Um, I'm definitely in a spot where we've created, I think, a good aura around our brand that makes me feel a lot more comfortable kind of just using those comments from naysayers as like fuel as opposed to just a personal attack and deterrent. But it took some time because, as I'm sure from personal experience, when you're putting your heart and soul into something, and someone is making a comment that doesn't sit right with you, um, it's you got to figure out a way how you are gonna, deal with that from your own personal perspective.
Early on, what would you say one of the craziest opinions injected into your realm would have been?
Um, so, without naming names, I had one individual uh, who I just didn't get along with. Uh, he's also in the industry, but on a different side of it. And he basically said to my face that nobody liked me and nobody in the industry respects me and that um, he thinks my brand is crap. That and that was in person, face to face. This was many years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago now. Um, I went up to him in that moment to because I saw him, not by any planned occurrence, but I saw him, in a mutual setting, and I went up to him to just squash whatever beef that he felt there was, and so I just went up to him and was like, "Hey, man, like, we're both in this trying to do our thing, trying to succeed, and, I just wanna put whatever you think is there behind us. I'm here to work hard, I'm here to build good relationships," and he basically tossed that aside and was like, "I don't wanna do that, and I have no respect for you, and I don't think that anybody else in the industry that I've talked to has respect for you either." Coming from someone who I try to treat everyone with as much respect as possible, I was a little taken back by that, and I just didn't try and start anything further. I just took it on the chin and was like, "All right, from this moment forward, whatever he believed, I'm gonna give nobody any reason to think anything other than what I wanna be thought of as myself, which is someone that works hard, treats people with respect, is personable, and, makes other people feel good when they're around me." So, that was probably that moment was probably the most surprising of all the moments, and there haven't been any other moments like that, in the past, so that one was kind of out of left field, but I took it on the chin and kinda used it as a learning moment because obviously nobody there's 8 billion people on this planet, and we're not all meant for each other. So, I did something that was unsettling to that individual, and so I kinda used that as a moment to figure out how to be as, you know, level-headed and even playing field when I deal with anybody, whether they're in the industry or not.
What part of yourself would you say that you lost or had to bury in order to build Cabal to where it is today or the way that you've envisioned it?
What part of myself I lost or had to bury, you're saying?
Yes.
I don't think I lost anything or had to bury anything. I think I've had to curtail, um, my personality a little bit. When I was in real estate, like I mentioned, it was more one-on-one with my client, so I was able to adapt to each client slower and more based on the flow of the transaction of that real estate dealing. With the world of the liquor industry and doing what I do now, which is constantly customer, client, people focused all the time, events, different personalities, day to day, distributors, reps, restaurant owners, hotel GMs. I mean, it's different personalities and different mindsets and different working structures that you have to juggle all the time. I don't think I had to bury or lose anything, but I had to really curtail my approach. I think sometimes because I'm such a fiery person and I put my heart and soul into the things that I'm really passionate about, I think that fiery personality comes out in a way sometimes that might not always be well received by people that don't also share that same fire and personal confidence. And so I think I've had to curtail that excitement and that fire from time to time. And I've done a better job of kind of reading the individual and looking at the situation and figuring out a way to kind of tailor my approach that fits their needs more than just I'm going to be me and you have to accept that or not. And I still have that mindset where it's like I'm me and I'm going to do me. But as time has gone on and things have developed, obviously I have a reputation and a brand to protect. And so, as much as I just want to be my unabashed self, there's people that are significantly more sensitive to strong, fiery, passionate personalities. And so I've had to curtail that in a way that has maybe brought down my excitement or my fiery persona a couple rungs, which definitely has taken some like time and some like self talk in certain social and business arenas where I can tell someone's just like not catching the vibe at all. And I am obviously wanting to connect with them. So, I wish everybody had as much like fiery excitement as I do, but obviously everybody's different and nobody, no two people are the same. So I've had to kind of figure out a way to channel that fire and that excitement and that passion in a way that kind of molds to any personality.
Now, as we talk about your fiery passion and the things that you've had to dial back, the word cabal already sounds like something that people aren't supposed to get their hands on. Sort of like that taboo, mythical type, or what's the word I'm looking for? Relic, if you will. Was that intentional? And how much of this brand was built on the belief that real tequila culture has been hijacked by people who never respected it?
It's a loaded question. Uh,
This show tends to have a lot of loaded questions.
I have loaded answers. Um, so I didn't found this brand. I came in very, very soon after it was founded by my business partner, Everardo Gonzalez. And he also wasn't in the world of agave spirits before he launched this brand. He was in clothing manufacturing and also real estate, but his family has been farming agave since the early 1900s. And through extended family, through marriage, excuse me, his family was the first importer of USD organic tequila. And he got approached, speaking of the word cabal and having it be this like secret society, when when he launched the brand. The reason why he launched the brand is because he got approached by a friend that was about to come to market with an RTD and was looking for someone that could produce bulk tequila for him, import it to America, and then bottle it here in the U.S. And so he, with his connections from our distillery and his family growing agave, he knew that he could execute that for him. And so he decided that if he was going to import bulk tequila for someone, that he might as well use those connections and create his own brand. And aside from just importing that bulk tequila. And so when he thought long and hard about it and thought about what his brand should represent and what he wanted it to encompass as a whole, he wanted a name that represented more than just a sole identity, more than just a Casa this or a Don that, um, or Dos Amigos or Tres Amigos. He wanted a brand name that was a call to action that encapsulated more than just a bottle of tequila on a shelf or on a back bar at a restaurant. And the reason why he wanted that and was drawn to something that signified more than just a singular identity or call to action is because that was how he was raised. He was raised in a fashion where doing things the right way, showing up with intention, with integrity, and being the best version of yourself was what was instilled with him by his Mexican parents. And on the bottom of every bottle, actually, there's a saying in Spanish that translates to there's few of us good ones left. Take care of yourself. Que los buenos quedamos pocos. And that was a saying that his father would say to him every time he would leave the house before he left to go hang out with his friends or go to school. Take care of yourself. There's few of us good ones left. Make sure you look out for not only yourself, but the other ones that are around you that are also holding themselves in this light that is someone that has integrity, that shows up, that is intentional. And cabal in Spanish is that. It is thorough, precise, intentional, on point. It's also the root word of caballero. And so when he developed the name, he wanted a name that invoked a call to action. He wanted a name that when you heard it, obviously there's, the political cabal, which is like a political coup. Um, there was no thought or correlation to that. People, I would say 1 in 30, 1 in 40 people bring that up. Oh, isn't cabal like a political coup, like a secret society? Well, that is what it is in English, but in Spanish, it doesn't mean that. But actually, there is a direct tie-in and carryover to the English version that wasn't intentional. Someone that is cabal, that is intentional, that shows up with integrity and pride and thoroughness, that is a part of a cohort or a group of people that care about how they carry themselves. And so unintentionally, the carryover between what cabal means in Spanish and its root word could effectively be part of, you know, maybe not so much a secret society, but a society of people that care to carry themselves in a certain way.
So now, if tomorrow somebody stripped away the bottle, the branding, the marketing, um, what would still make Cabal dangerous in the tequila industry?
Integrity, uh, precision, and I mean hard work. You gotta work hard. So obviously that goes without saying. But integrity and precision, because you know in this industry, in the world of lawsuits for uh, adulterated additive use and lacking transparency with labeling and the CRT being the CRT, uh, without going too deep into what they do because fear of getting canceled by them. Uh, I think those two things, integrity and precision would still be present and still remain because doing things the right way behind closed doors are the most important element to producing tequila in the way that we do and many other producers that I'm either friends with or support because I think they're phenomenal brands continue to do. You got to have integrity in what you do. We've made tough decisions throughout the course of our journey that have gone untalked about, that have cost us money, that have cost us time, that have cost us market positioning because we weren't either A, happy with the outcome, the end product, whether it be a consumable or a liquid or a marketing play didn't fit right within the integrity of our landscape. And then beyond that precision, I mean, when you're making tequila at the proof that we make it at, especially the high proof, our still strength, the precision in the distillation, the precision in the barrel blending, the precision in the decision making about what kind of barrels to use when we age our spirits or how we're blending our spirits. I mean, we blend down to 1/10%. And so, if you strip away everything that's glamorous and beautiful and you take away the bottle and the label and the name, integrity and precision for sure. Obviously, in order to execute those things, you need to work hard and you need to show up. But those two elements for sure, without a doubt, are the two most important elements that would remain if you stripped everything out.
So now you mentioned a little bit about transparency. I kind of want to throw another loaded question at you referencing authenticity. The tequila industry loves selling the image of authenticity. And to me, I feel like it's more of the bigger brands that try to do this. And I think it's for me the lesser quality bigger brands that try to sell the consumer on what is authentic. But how much of it do you believe is actually real anymore? And where does Cabal draw the line between culture and commercialism?
Well, I think if you look at just mass marketing as a whole, a lot of the big brands that have big marketing dollars are leaning into authentic Mexican culture. And I think they are, to some extent, culturally appropriating the culture itself, because they are the buzzwords or the buzz images of what should be representative of tequila and agave spirits and Jalisco and the Mexican people and the spirit of Jalisco, which is tequila. I think personally, the direction that a lot of brands are taking is trying to make it seem more authentic from like a image perspective than it really is if you peel back the curtains. For us personally, everything that you see from us, whether it's an image on our Instagram or a marketing or back label facing you image, is truly authentic. And I think a lot of brands are leaning into artificial intelligence to put in a command to AI saying, give me an image of what it looks like to be a tequilero in Jalisco. And I know for a fact there are brands out there that are using AI to generate images for their marketing. And for us, none of our images are AI generated. Everything that you see that we put out, whether it be on our Instagram or any form of marketing, are images that we've taken from not only the direct process of making our tequila, but along the journey of creating this brand. And I think people are using technology in a way to capture the audience and create an image or some type of feeling that a consumer might kind of evoke from seeing that. And I'm not sure if, you know, I don't know. I see a different side of it just because I'm on the supplier producer side. And so when I see an ad from another brand or marketing or Instagram post or something, I see it from a different lens. And so I think you ask a good question because I don't frequently have conversations with people about like, hey, did you see that Patron ad? Uh, Quick segue. I think they're doing a great job educating people about additive free movement and the use of additives in tequila. a budget that our company doesn't have the funds to start rolling out commercials during the NBA playoffs talking about additive free tequila, but I digress. But I haven't really been able to have conversations with people about like, hey, did you see that ad? Did you see this post? Did you see this? What did you think about it? What did it make you feel? But also I don't really care because we're so focused on doing things that feel true and real and authentic to us that I don't have any like feeling or negativity or begrudgement towards any brand that's using any type of AI or any type of imagery that's trying to make the public feel like it's more authentic than it really is. Because at the end of the day, and going back way to the beginning of our conversation, what are the things that like I've had to like rechannel my energy on? One of them is on just not really paying that much attention to what other people are doing, other than the fact of just understanding the general scope and macro level of the movement of the market. But in terms of just like usage of marketing materials towards authenticity, I don't really feel one way or another. And I honestly, I don't not appreciate it, but I feel like there's some type of benefit to at least highlight and showcase the Mexican culture in the way that some of these brands are doing. Maybe it's not as tasteful as we would like to think we would do it, but at least the Mexican culture, which I've been fortunate enough to spend a lot of time in and around all over the country of Mexico, is a group of beautiful people, hardworking. They're passionate about what they do. I have never, I mean, if someone said you could go to one country one more time for the rest of your life, I would go to Mexico. And I've been to over 20 countries around the world. And that's because of how the people make you feel when you're there. It also helps that I speak a decent amount of broken Spanish. uh, but they are a group of people that are just incredible. They make you feel like family. They're warm. They're engaging. They're appreciative of anything. They work their frickin' tails off. They're a culture that knows how to put their nose to the grindstone. They don't leave their neighbor on the curb. You don't see homelessness in Mexico like you do in the United States. And so I think as a whole, I feel prideful being involved in a spirit category that is introducing another part of the world that people might not otherwise be accustomed to. And so people that are bringing eyeballs to the Mexican culture, whether it be AI generated or not, I think there is more positive than negative connotations to that.
Now, running a tequila company is hard in itself. What would you say the ugliest truth about running a tequila company is that consumers never really see once the bottle hits the shelf?
I think the best part and the funniest that just gets me chuckling is when I meet random strangers, I never lead with, "Hey, what's your name? I own a tequila company." I'm like the type of personality that like wants to learn about you first and like, as I've gotten older and trying to figure out ways to connect with all different types of people, I want to learn about you and see, how I can offer some value and insight on what I do. The funniest thing to me is when I meet a stranger and they finally get to the point of asking, what I do for work. And, I tell them I'm part owner in a tequila brand and I do all the blending of my tequila and I'm heavily, heavily involved in all of our production and decision making. And when they hear that I am a part owner in a tequila brand, they think I'm automatically flying on private jets to and from Mexico, and like I have the cartel on speed dial, and like if I need anything, from Chapo, that like will be good to go. Like I'm blown away how many times I meet random people and I'm not sure if it would be the same, and I don't think it would be if I was like making vodka or gin or whiskey or even wine in America or elsewhere, if they would have the same reaction. But this connotation and association to tequila production and just being a part owner in a tequila brand, they automatically assume that like I'm just balling out. And what they don't know, and the ugly truths about it are, if they just saw one piece of shit that hit the fan one time, they would say I wouldn't get within a million yards of ever doing this for work, because the amount of things that you juggle and have to manage and deal with on a daily basis is is unbelievable. I always joke because obviously, with my small team, we have a text thread that is popping off all the time, every day, all day long. And tell my business partner, our founder, Gerardo, I said, I wait for the day where you text us and share good news, because it's always, hey guys, we have an issue. It's not, hey guys, I can't wait to share this with you. You're going to be so stoked. It's always, hey guys, there's an issue with whatever it is. It could be a label manufacturer, a top issue, a mix up at the distillery, pulling the wrong barrels. I mean, I, I could write a 3,000 page dissertation on every problem that could go wrong making a spirit in a foreign country. And I would probably need 3,001 pages. So I think that's people just think it's glitz and glamour. And behind closed doors, it's organized fucking chaos.
So, uh, real quick, because that's going to lead into my next question, but how comical would it be if he texts, I can't wait to share this with you, and then led into which issue it was instead of something good?
Yeah, I would probably reply by saying a four-letter word followed by you. Um,
And it's okay to swear on here.
yeah, I know, because I just did about 30 seconds ago. Um, yeah, it would be comical, and we F with each other all the time, because without levity, there's no way to get through a week, a month, or let alone 6 years of trying to build a brand. Um, and granted, there are good things that happen along the way. Otherwise, you don't end up in year six with constant growth. But it honestly just feels like another category five is rolling in off of the Caribbean.
You talked a little bit about the chaos. What decision have you made for Cabal that looked calm publicly, but was complete chaos in the background?
I mean, there's been a lot. Um, I think early on, we were very involved in our process and our production. Uh, from the very beginning, even when we were at 1480, his family's first distillery. and we were the guinea pigs at 1646, our current distillery. Um, but I think a couple things happened at our previous distillery that we weren't there for, that we later found out happened, that we decided to not release. And so now, I mean, it's been more than 3 years that we are there for every single step of the process. I'm not fortunate enough to be there all the time, although I would love to be. That's not my day-to-day responsibility. Everardo, obviously, with his family ties, manages all that, and I only go down exclusively for certain production runs when we're in the process of blending special releases or uh, our new repo or añejo or extra añejo, whatever it may be, because I'm 50% of the blending decisions. But I think early on, the first couple of years, as great as his family is, when you're managing multiple brands at the same distillery, um, communication wires get crossed sometimes. And so I think, so we're in year 6. I think starting this happened like end of year 2, maybe beginning of year 3. So I would say at least 3.5, maybe almost 4 years now. We've been there we've hand selected our parcels. We've been there from harvest all the way through bottling. Obviously, if you're resting tequila or it's in barrels, you know, we go home, the product rests or sits in barrels and then come back for bottling. But we're there every step of the process, including tweaking the temperature variations between the two stills, stainless, copper, and working directly with, um, we don't even have a maestro. We just basically tell the person that is controlling the temperatures of the stills and the fermentation tweaks that we want to make. But the one thing that we did that I think made us change our approach and just like not blindly trust any relationship, regardless of it's familiar or not, is one time we created a batch of reposado and we wanted to rechar the barrels. This was before we completely scrapped not recharring any barrels. We haven't recharred a barrel in 3.5 years. This is probably the reason why. And we weren't there for the charring process. The barrels got charred. The bottles got bottled from the reposado. We imported it. And then we had, I don't know, 4 or 5 pallets. Nothing crazy, but for a brand that's only into year 2, close to $100,000 purchase order. And we always taste our product obviously when it lands in our warehouse, but that's why we're now there for the last 3, 4 years, tasting it before it's bottled every literally millisecond of the process. But every time product comes to our warehouse, me and Everardo, we pop a random bottle from a pallet and we sip it just to like check, is it what it was when it was bottled 2 weeks ago? And we both tried it and we looked at each other and we were like, what the fuck is this? Um, it was so austere and so sharp and overcharred. We called a conversation and they had charred the barrels twice as long as we had communicated them to. We scrapped that entire production.
Wow.
I never put that bottle on the market. I could have easily released it and been like, let's see what people think. Put it here, put it there. We scrapped it. We looked at each other. I go, I can't sell this. Now, I've sampled people on it, and I've sampled actually a fair amount of people on it over the years. Like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Oh, this is really good. Oh, wow, this is tasty. Oh, but in my heart, talking about if you strip away what is left, it's the integrity and the precision. Uh, and we just looked at each other and we're like, we can't do it. So that was a tough one, but we we've recovered. We're still here, still breathing, still got a heartbeat.
So, how dangerous is it for a brand when growth starts moving faster than the culture and foundation underneath of it?
Well, I think we'll always have a good identity of who we are and the direction we're going in. If you could magically start throwing zeros into my bank account on the back end of what's already in there, um, I would happily find out what those dangers look like, because we've done a really good job in 6 years, as you would call in March Madness if you're a NCAA basketball fan, survive in advance. Um, I don't I don't really see, in terms of like moving too fast or advancing down the line and cultural references associated with it. I would love that problem because I know that our identity is so strong and we have such a great foundation now and backbone, and we know exactly what has worked and what hasn't worked, that I would love an opportunity to see what fuck around and find out looks like. I would, because the last 6 years, I mean, without my CFO, we would have been out of business. I mean, that repo debacle 4 years ago could have buried us. We were only like 24 or 30 months in. But that's why I brought someone in that's someone that I would trust with my life that I've known for 20 years and is one of the biggest beasts that comes to anything cash flow management. Been in private equity and VC for many years. But without him, like, I would love to find a scenario where things are moving so fast that instead of worrying about the the culture and the identity, because we'll always hold that, we'll always keep that integrity to our name. I would love to find a scenario where things are moving so fast that we have to figure out how we're going to get the same quality juice in 10x the number of bottles in the same amount of time without cutting corners. So, bring it on.
Have there been moments where the pressure of protecting Cabal felt heavier than the excitement of building it?
No, never. Because I know and my business partner knows, and the fact that we are so precise in what we want, and how we want to get there. The excitement, as much as there's so much shit that goes on behind closed doors, the excitement is what drives the bus. It's been 6 years, and I have made so little money doing this that if the excitement wasn't there, if the passion wasn't there to do what we're doing, and we didn't believe in what we were creating, then the contrary would take over and the excitement wouldn't reign supreme. But because we're so confident in our approach, in our belief in what we have created, what we're going to continue to create, that excitement is tantamount to anything else because that's why I effectively made the tough decision of putting my real estate career on the back burner, which was on the up and up in 2019, and decided in 2020 to go full time with this and be the crazy SOB to get involved in a liquor brand that had sold less than 500 cases to their name.
So you mentioned things going on behind closed doors. You kind of want to move into more or less industry politics.
Are you
Gonna be
sure?
some gonna be some loaded
Are
questions
you
for
sure you want to move into industry politics?
I do.
All
And
right,
I think honestly you would be the perfect person to move into that topic with.
let's go.
Do we need more tequila for this?
I mean, I'm just, I mean, I'm great, man. Tequila is like water to me at this point. Um,
You
it's a
you and me both.
funny story about was at a friend's wedding a couple summers ago, and I was manning the bar, not like working it, but everyone was ordering Casamigos. This is just a fun like digression that I think you would appreciate. Everybody was ordering Casamigos, Casamigos, Casamigos. This was like before the lawsuit, and I think this was 2023, 2022. It was a few years ago. And but they had great tequila. Not like a ton of it, but they had some of my favorite brands. They had Santanera. Are you familiar with Santanera?
No.
After the show, give a give a quick research to Santanera, Pablo Santanera, the founder. They're making phenomenal juice, single non-producer, beautiful packaging, beautiful juice. Anyway, they had Santanera. They had a couple of other they had Tapatio. They had, some of the regulars that I would like support, and everybody was coming up to the bar. I'm like, people are like, "What are you drinking?" I'm like, "I'm drinking Tapatio soda. I'm drinking shot of Tapatio." They're like, "Oh, we're drinking Casamigos, Casamigos." And so I got out of the pool. It was a pool party. I got out of the pool and I stood at the bar adjacent to the pool. And literally for the next hour, I didn't move because I knew within 1 hour everybody was going to have another drink. And so for an entire hour, I sat at the pool bar. And when someone walked up, and didn't know them, some of them I knew, let me get a Casamigos soda, let me get a shot of Casamigos. I said, no, you're ordering this. And I think I was turning them on to Tapatio or Santanera, or they might have even had Cascaween, the square bottle, their regular roller mill line. And so for an hour, I sat there. And by the end of the pool party, which was like only the first event of three over the next 2 days, by the end of the weekend, nobody was drinking Casamigos. I think I heard the Casamigos market share dent by like at least 1/100th of a percent that weekend because we put down a ton of booze. But the only reason why I make this point is it's without the education, people are just going to always continue to follow what they think they should drink versus what they actually should be drinking. So if you want to get into politics, let's go.
Well, let's dive into it. What conversations happen privately in the tequila industry that consumers would probably be shocked to hear?
What conversations are not being had privately that consumers would be
No,
shocked to hear?
that are being had privately.
Right, I know, and I was rebuttaling with as if there are not a million conversations being had that would surprise them. Um,
We'll just take one.
so the use of the word additive free as a whole is a saying, a slogan, a tagline, a descriptor that has been completely hijacked. Not only by the powers to be, but brands that are using those words all while knowing that that is not true. On the powers to be side, the CRT, the governing body of tequila, they have eyeballs everywhere. And when I mean everywhere, they know when you are using the words additive free in anything that you are doing. And you are not legally allowed to use those words on your bottle in marketing. I don't know if they've bugged this room and they're watching me say it now. That would be crazy. But they have eyes and ears everywhere when it comes to those two words, additive free. And I think Patron, like I mentioned earlier, has done a great job educating the consumer on. For the longest time, people didn't know that additives could be used in any spirit, let alone tequila. But Patron did a good job educating people, and now there's a divisiveness between, are you an additive free brand and are you not an additive free brand? But additive free doesn't signify quality. Additive use certainly signifies not being quality, from my personal perspective. But I think consumers are completely unaware of how the political structure of the governing bodies of tequila works and the oversight committee that is the CRT and the money that funds the CRT and what brands are associated with that monetary infusement to run the CRT. Um, Obviously, no one's going to run a campaign on that and expose what actually is going on. Uh, but when people do hear about it and that question comes up one in 1,000, because most people don't really care about the political landscape of the governing bodies of agave spirits, they just care about a good brand story and if your tequila tastes great. And that's all I really want them to focus on. But when that conversation does come up, people are literally blown away when I tell them how things are structured and how the word additive free has been hijacked to the point where you have to be careful where you use it and how you use it.
How do you think it would go if, let's say, a media outlet did an investigative report on the CRT?
Well, considering the fact that I hate media and I hate politics, we would need every single media outlet to cover it so that we could get every single biased opinion possible, and hopefully get to the truth. But I think if it was covered, I really don't want it to be, because I think what it would expose is a lack of trust and transparency, even though that onus falls squarely on my company's shoulders to do things the right way. Again, like Cabal, whether you know about it or not, we do it right anyway. That still falls squarely on the producer's shoulders. But what I think it would do is I think it could potentially kill tequila as a category, because I think what could potentially happen is if that was exposed, people might cancel it as a whole and be like, I can't trust anybody. And I think it's a really dangerous, slippery slope, because at that point, you're opening a door to a scenario where people see really what's under the hood. And again, the onus, and I reiterate that the onus falls squarely on the producer's shoulders. You just are handcuffed to not use buzzwords to market your product selectively. But again, people, if they understood how the oversight committee operated and what funded it and what allowed them to be what they are, people might as a whole lose trust in the entire category itself. And I think that's really dangerous because at the end of the day, the brands that I mentioned a few segments ago that are in my tequila closet and coming out of every corner of my house, those brands like us are going to do it right no matter what. Fortaleza's never going to cut corners, no matter if they're at capacity. Fortaleza's never going to use additives. Cascawene's never going to use additives. G4's never going to use additives. It's up to the producer to hold yourself accountable. Because again, if you, most consumers don't know, if you go under the hood, you are allowed to legally use additives without having to disclose it. So most people don't know that. The majority of people consuming tequila, agave spirits, don't know that additive use under a certain threshold is permissible and is not needed disclosure. So I think as you start to, it's really messy behind the scenes, and the brands that are doing things the right way will continue to do things the right way. But if you start to peel back that onion for the people just like want something to dig their teeth into and be like, oh, that's what the CRT is. I can't trust any tequila brand, as opposed to being like, well, Cabal or Cascaween or G4 or Fortaleza or Santanera or Tapatio, they have autonomy to do what they want. They're just, you know, quote unquote handcuffed to not use certain marketable buzzwords. So it's it's a slippery slope one way or the other. But I think in this sense, naivete is bliss.
What do you think the biggest and most dangerous illusion that consumers believe about the tequila industry is right now? Do you feel like it's the whole additive free movement? Do you think that's more of an illusion?
What do I think the biggest illusion is?
Yeah.
I would say probably only because I mean, just go to your local Total Wine and look at a brand rep or one of the floor reps that works at Total Wine pouring juice that I can just look at the nom number and know there's going to be additives in it. And if I give it a fair shot and just put my nose in it or dip my pinky in it, rub it on the back of my palm, I know there's going to be additives in it. Um, I think the illusion of additive free because you don't have to legally disclose it under a certain threshold is creating this false narrative and false identity with certain brands. I mean, I've been at spirit festivals and different events where I've shared a booth or been next to a booth that is a brand that I don't need them to disclose if they're using additives. I know as a trained sommelier and someone that's tried thousands of agave spirits that before I even taste the product, it has additives. And I think that illusion of not having to disclose, and again, going back to the politics of the CRT and what funds the CRT and what drives them to truncate and shield the public from certain information is the driving force and the factor behind all this. But I think the illusion around additive free and brands not having to legally disclose it is creating a level of confusion amongst the consumer base that is, again, I think going back to the last topic we were just on, dangerous and slippery because there's so many people that I've had conversations with where I'm like, oh, what's your favorite tequila? And they'll say brand. X or brand Y, and they're like, "Yeah, it's additive free," and I know for 1000% certainty that brand has additives in it, but because that brand rep or brand owner, whomever it is that shared that brand or story with them is telling them it's additive free because they don't legally have to disclose it, they're creating this illusion around inauthenticity that I think is creating kind of like this seesaw battle between like what's real and what's not.
Do you feel like that hurts the industry when those reps do that?
I think anything that is a farce hurts anything in life. I could you imagine if brands that are using additives, even if they were below the legal threshold, had to disclose that they were using additives? How many people do you think would actually buy that brand? What do you mean there's additives in my favorite tequila? What's an additive? Oh, well, there's 4 categories. What could that be? And then you go into it, and then you go into the composition of how additives are used and how it's 10,000 times stronger than your average table sugar or table salt or coloring or extract or oak this or that. I'm not sure I'm not sure that it would be beneficial. Again, I think I said it like 5 minutes ago, naivete is bliss. Like, imagine if I would say more brands I would say it's starting to shift where more brands were using additives and saying they were additive free existed 5 years ago. But I think this whole like additive free movement is people are like, "Oh, we're not going to use additives." Well, it's like, well, your tequila sucks with additives and it's going to suck without additives. So, which side of the coin do you want to be on? Do you want to be part of the I use additives and my tequila sucks? Or do you want to be part of the coin that I don't use additives, and I can actually say we don't use additives truthfully, but my tequila still sucks. I think either side of the of the draw, you're kind of shit out of luck. But I think the I think the illusion of it and creating this like narrative is better left to be unsaid than said. Because as soon as brands have to start actually showing lab results, things are gonna get real sticky, pun intended.
It's going to thin the herd out very quick.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's gonna thin it out real quick. But the brands that have stayed true and have done things the right way, they will still be there. But people found those brands because of the integrity and the word of mouth and the sharing of the stories. It's the ones where people are like, "Oh, I love this brand. It's so smooth." And I'm like, in my mind, like, I don't want to kill their buzz. I'm like, "Hmm, that brand has so many additives. Wouldn't even put it on my pancakes." And, but they love it. So I don't, I don't want to be the person that ruins a good time, um, unless they ask about it. But I think if that were to come to light and fruition, I think a lot of brands would be in trouble. It wouldn't hurt my brand, that's for sure.
But you could make it better for them by introducing them to a way better brand than what they are drinking.
True, but Casamigos was a way better brand than before they started using additives. Casamigos actually the first 2.5 years they were producing. I was a Patron drinker. I grew up drinking Patron in the early 2000s when I was in high school. It's what my mom drank. What I drank, I never knew about the world of additives in tequila. And then Casamigos, I was drinking Patron through early college. And then Casamigos rolled through in 2012. And I was like, oh, obviously they had all this marketing buzz around them. George Clooney was marketing it. So I got a bottle and I tried it. And I was like, damn, this is like way more agave than Patron. Like this actually tastes pretty good. My mom at the time was drinking Patron too, and I bought her a bottle too. And I was like, you should try this. And for a couple of years, I was drinking Casamigos. They were 1000% not using additives the first couple of years until they hit that inflection point where they're like, holy shit, we're blowing up. And it's either do we stay true and traditional and we build out more ovens and we, more fermentation tanks, or we just say, F it, we're going to go 3-year agave and frickin' autoclave and pressure cook the shit out of this and rush the process and cut our 8-day Blanco period into a day and a half. Um, and so they obviously chose the less authentic route. But up until that point, I mean, even ask my Mexican business partner, we talk about this all the time. He was like, Casamigos for 2012, 2013, early 2014 was like pretty damn solid. So, I mean, you gotta, look at Fortaleza. They've been at capacity. I've been lucky enough to be friends with people. They've since moved on, but pretty high up at Fortaleza. And they're pretty honest and open about they've been at capacity at their distillery for years. They can't produce a bottle more. They could if they cut corners, but they can't produce a bottle more. They're for the longest time, and they were like, "Oh, we're breaking ground on a new distillery." I was like, "Cool, let me know when that happens," because we did the exact same thing, and it was a 6-year process. And they're like, "Oh, we're building a new distillery to try to increase production next door." New nom number. Well, they're still not across the finish line. That was in 2021 when I heard that story. So we're in 2026, but they could have gone. Maybe they bring in an autoclave. They take their cooking time from 35 hours down to 8, and they do and now all of a sudden they're turning over 2 containers every 4 days as opposed to half a container. They didn't choose to do that. They chose to stick in the root of authenticity and traditional methods. And I think that's why you've seen distilleries, which is my favorite, which is Cascaween, where a couple brands have moved on from Cascaween because Cascaween has started to prioritize their own production. And Cascaween has gotten so popular that they're like, I can't service other brands and increase my production without cutting corners. So I've had to, unfortunately, but truthfully, move on from other brands. And it sucks because it's business and like, who doesn't like anything that's coming out of Cascaween? Obviously, we each and all have our favorites from Cascaween, but they also could have been like, oh, I need to keep these brands because I want to make more money and I'll just screw it. I'll just cut my time down or I'll cut their time down so we can all make more juice. It's a decision and it's one that costs money at the end of the day. And typically it costs money on the positive side rather than the negative side.
So now I want to move into the brand legacy, your legacy. Um, if Cabal disappeared tomorrow, what would you hope that people remembered about what the brand stood for?
Integrity and precision. Exactly what I answered earlier, I think, and how people feel when they think of our brand. I think as a brand that has had to be creative in the way in which we get our messaging out there, we've had to engage in a way that's a lot more personal than artificial. We host countless events every month in person, virtually, partnerships with big companies, small companies. When we show up and we create something, whether it be a tasting at Vallarta supermarkets in California or a dry demo in Arizona with Costco, when someone shows up to engage with our brand, we create a memory. And that memory is created by the person that is representing our brand. We don't have a big team. We do have small portions of individuals that represent our brand that aren't necessarily under the umbrella of Cabal that represent our company and share our story and share our production methods. But no matter where you're engaging, for example, we just had Nashville Tequila Festival that I wasn't in attendance for. And I have a great brand manager in Tennessee that was running our booth. When people come and engage with our product or the person that's representing our brand, they are left with a memory. And memories are all that you have when you leave this earth. You can't take money, you can't take possessions, you can't take people, but you can take your memories with you. And so for us, what I think we do a really great job of is creating a memory that sticks with people. For me personally, when I stay loyal to a brand or a consumer product, I'm typically loyal to that brand or their consumer product because of how I feel when I engage with that brand or some type of memory that I hold with me from an experience in which I previously engaged with that brand. And so for us, people will always leave with a memory of how Cabal made them feel, no matter where, when, or how they were engaging with our product.
Years from now, when people look back at Dustin, what do you hope that they understood about the sacrifices behind Cabal that were never visible from the outside?
Don't try this at home. No. In all seriousness, I honestly I wouldn't recommend this shit to anybody. It's I mean, even if we were like funded with $20 million in our bank account right now, I'm not sure I would recommend it to anybody, but I would say like what they would leave with or remember is we didn't leave any stone unturned. There was no moment or no sacrifice where we sat there and we were like, F it, let's take the easy way out. And I think that's really powerful because I know no matter what direction we go from here, whether we're wildly successful or fall on our ass in the next 6 months, certainly the former's more likely than the latter. I think people will be left with the fact that we put every piece of our heart and soul into this, and we didn't take what we're trying to build for granted. And this is not for the faint of heart.
And when it's all said and done, what do you hope that the tequila industry says about you when you're gone?
Me as a person,
Yes.
that guy was such an asshole. No, I'm just kidding. No, I really hope they don't say that. One of the things my dad always instilled in me from a young age was I always grew up playing sports and played pretty competitive sports even after college. And one thing that he always instilled with me was, it's always nice to hear, oh, there goes Dustin. He's a good athlete. Oh, there goes Dustin. He's good looking. Oh, there goes Dustin. He's super successful. He goes, but nobody remembers any of that. The one that sticks with them is there goes Dustin. He's such a great person. Oh, there goes Dustin. He goes out of his way to make someone feel special or feel heard or taken care of. There goes Dustin. He's looking out for me. Those are the things that stick with people. And when I'm long gone and hopefully at a place where I leave this earth proud and dignified, that's what I hope they leave with. Because, like I mentioned, memories are the only thing that stick with people long after you're gone. And what would be shittier than someone leaving with a memory of you that you were a piece of crap human being, as opposed to someone that was, honorable and worked hard and treated people with care. Like I always try and, even if I'm have to wait an extra 10 seconds, I always, no matter what, I always try and hold the door open for someone, even if they're not carrying something and they're moving at a snail's pace. At the end of the day, that's the least you can do is kill 5 seconds of your life to make sure someone else has. And I always try and make at least one person smile or laugh throughout the day. And I don't have a conscious thought about it. It's kind of just been ingrained in me because I've thought about it for many years over time. But try and make one stranger or person that I've never met before feel something good inside, because at the end of the day, everyone's going through something, and this world is a tumultuous place.
I couldn't agree more, brother. And
Yeah.
again, thank you so much for being on the show. Where can everyone find you on social media?
I appreciate you having me. This was awesome. You did exactly to your word, keeping us on schedule. I appreciate that. I wouldn't put it past you though, being on military time ain't no second late. So I do appreciate that, and I'm not surprised. So social media, we have a couple of Instagram handles. My personal Instagram handle, which is probably the least entertaining of them all, because it's mostly personal stuff and a few business things worked in, is Dustin Schweitzer _. But the ones that if you want to follow about what's going on in the world of Tequila Cabal and Tequila Potro, it's at Tequila Cabal, CABAL, or at Tequila Potro, POTRO. And that's where you'll find special releases or things that are coming up or fun events or dealings. But feel free to reach out to any of those pages, and hopefully we'll have a thoughtful answer for you.
Well, Dustin, again, I appreciate your time, and everyone, have a good night.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. We'll chat soon. Cheers.